What's up guys, new day, new car, time for rev. Today with the Skoda Enyaq, and I know a lot of you have been eagerly waiting for it, and rightfully so, because I think this might be the better ID.4. Why is that? We'll get to that in a second. Let's roll.
VW's Czech subsidiary Skoda brought out the Enyaq just a few weeks after the market launch of the ID.4. Unlike Volkswagen's flagship SUV, the Enyaq is not built in Germany, China, or North America, but at Skoda's main plant in Mladá Boleslav in the Czech Republic.
The Enyaq is probably one of the most important cars for Skoda in recent years, and you could say it's actually the first real electric car by Skoda. And quite fittingly, the name Enyaq comes from the Irish word Enya, and that means source of life. Of course, before the Enyaq there was the Citigo EiV, but that one was still based on VW's MQB platform, and that's a platform that was used for combustion engine cars. This one, the Enyaq, now sits on the new MEB platform, just like the VW ID.4, and that platform was specifically designed for all electric cars. And that's why on paper the ID.4 and the Enyaq look quite similar.
The Enyaq comes in 3 versions, all with rear-wheel drive and with motors running at 109, 132, or 150 kilowatts, and a claimed range of 537 kilometers. For our test, we drove the Enyaq iV80 with the most powerful electric engine and the largest battery. Here, there are strong similarities to the ID.4.
Now, just as my colleague Emmanuel has mentioned during his test drive with the ID.4, that was also equipped with the 77 kilowatt-hour big battery and the 204 horsepower electric engine, the car is super silent, and that's also the case in here. Just as in the ID.4, the Skoda engineers have done a really great job when it comes to insulating and dampening. Now, electric cars are always pretty silent, but in here, besides some wind noises coming from the A-pillar and your typical tire rolling noises, you don't really hear anything at all. So the ride comfort is super high in here, but you can feel the weight of the car. I mean, we're talking 2.3 tons. Of course, electric car, big battery that sits quite low in the car, so that's good for low center of gravity when taking some turns. But still, after the initial punch, when you start to accelerate, you really can feel the weight.
Just like the ID.4, the Enyaq goes from 0 to 100 in 8.6 seconds and has a top speed limited at 160 kilometers an hour. More family cruiser than race car. People looking for more performance should probably wait for the 80X or even the RS version, which are planned for later this year and will feature more powerful electric engines and all-wheel drive.
So while the ID.4 and the Enyaq are tech-wise pretty interchangeable, the design definitely differs a lot.
VW created a whole new design language for its all-electric ID line, very organic looking with almost no sharp edges.
Skoda, on the other hand, they went the other route,
meaning the Enyaq is clearly recognizable as a Skoda. A lot of sharp edges, an overall chunkier appearance, and an SUV meets station wagon crossover design. But at 4.65 meters long and 1.62 wide, the Enyaq is actually a bit more aerodynamic than the ID.4. And its trunk is 40 liters bigger than its German counterparts.
Of course, in the end, it comes down to personal preference, which one you prefer, but personally, I like the look of the Enyaq more.
Skoda says the Enyaq can charge at up to 125 kilowatts, depending on battery size. That means that at a fast charger, the largest battery can go from 5 to 80% in 38 minutes. At home, the Enyaq can be recharged at a wall box with up to 11 kilowatts AC in 6 to 8 hours.
Now, one topic the Enyaq does completely different than the ID.4 is recuperation. In the Enyaq, just like in the ID.4, you've got two driving modes, D and B, and in B you will always get the maximum level of recuperation, just like in the ID.4, and in D the car normally will sail. But here in the Enyaq you also get these shifting pedals that you won't get in the ID.4, and with these you can change the amount of recuperation in 3 levels, and I think that's a very nice feature. Of course, you could say in the ID.4 that's the more simplistic system, as the car pretty much just tells you either get recuperation or you can sail. But I think giving the customer the choice is always the better way of doing this. Now, when we're talking about one-pedal driving, the Enyaq, just like the ID.4, won't get to a complete stop when you take your foot off the accelerator, as it will always creep along no matter the level of recuperation you're driving in. So to come to a full stop when you are approaching a traffic light, you have to put your foot on the brake pedal.
To further conserve range, especially in the winter when the heater is on, the Enyaq can be equipped with a heat pump. But as with the ID.4, that doesn't come standard.
Let's have a look at the interior, and for me that's one of the points, or probably the most important point, why I think the Enyaq is the better ID.4. Don't get me wrong, the interior in the ID.4 looks very nice, very modern, a little bit futuristic, but depending on where you look, you could find some hard plastic parts, and that wasn't the case with VW in the past. In here, on the other hand, if you take a look, you've got nice decorative stitching, everything is soft. It's just, I mean, if you would cover up this logo and have a look, you could think you were sitting in an Audi. It's really, really nice to look and to feel. So yeah, I just think interior-wise the Enyaq is ahead. Plus, a big plus, thumbs up for buttons. Because yes, as I said, in the ID.4 they tried to go this futuristic route, so everything touch, but well, it might look nice, but when it comes to functionality, it's maybe not the best. And it looks like Skoda thinks so as well, because here, now you've got at least some buttons to quickly access, for example, the climate or change the driving modes. And also here at the steering wheel. In the ID.4 here you had some touch-sensitive surfaces that, well, again, looked nice, but when you tried to steer, you accidentally would touch them and, well, turn on the steering heating. In here you've got buttons, easy to use, and, well, that's the way to go, I think, at least.
Seats are available in sustainably processed, recycled, or natural materials. Skoda came up with 6 thematically distinct interiors for the Enyaq, inspired by real-world living rooms. In addition to a 5.3-inch digital cockpit, it has a central display measuring up to 13 inches.
From the outside, the Enyaq isn't that big. It's comparable to an Octavia, or it's even a little smaller than an Octavia, in fact. But in here you've got the space of a big Kodiaq or Superb. It's crazy. You should have all the space you really need back here. And of course, also back here you can find these little clever details, like for example a little pocket for your phone, a little phone holder when you want to watch a movie, and of course a 230 volt socket with 150 watts. That's enough, for example, to charge your notebook while driving. In the end, the Enyaq features everything that already made the ID.4 a very nice electric car. Super silent, big battery, long range, high driving comfort, and space-wise everything you could ask for. In comparison, it comes down to personal preference, and as I said at the beginning, for me, things like the SUV station wagon crossover design, the quality plus buttons that might not look as modern but are definitely the more functional option, plus the option to change recuperation levels and of course the price make the Enyaq the better ID.4.
Prices for the Enyaq iV start at just under 34,000 euros, a few thousand less than the cheapest ID.4. Our test car, the Enyaq iV80, starts at just under 44,000, still several hundred less than a comparable ID.4 Pro.